Chosen one, this message is no coincidence. You didn't stumble on this video by accident. This isn't just another voice in the noise of the internet. This is divine alignment. Heaven has scheduled this moment, this very second, as an appointment with your spirit, because something is coming. You've been sensing it, feeling the shift in the atmosphere. You've felt the pressure in your spirit, like something is about to break. You may not be able to explain it, but you know, deep down, you're standing on the edge of something supernatural. A sign, a message, a breakthrough. But maybe you've been wondering, God, is this really you speaking to me? Am I just imagining things? Or is something divine truly on its way? Let me be clear. You are not crazy. You are not forgotten. And you are not alone. God is about to confirm what your spirit already knows. I'm here to tell you today, a supernatural sign from God is coming into your life. Not someday, not years from now, soon. And it's coming to reveal what your natural eyes could not see. It's coming to remind you that you have been chosen for such a time as this. Chosen not just to survive, but to rise. Chosen not just to hope, but to walk in holy confidence. Chosen not just to pray, but to step into divine purpose. But let me ask you something. Have you been weary in the waiting? Have you been wondering if God has gone silent, if He's stopped speaking to you? Maybe you've prayed every prayer you know, fasted, served, trusted, and still the answer hasn't come. Still, the doors remain shut. Still, the silence echoes. And maybe you've whispered in the darkness, Lord, I just need a sign. Just something to show me you haven't left me. Beloved, the sign is coming. But here's the truth most people miss. God's signs are not just flashes of light in the sky. They're not always dramatic or thunderous. Sometimes they come as a whisper, a dream, a divine encounter, a perfectly timed word that hits your spirit and shakes you to the core. And if your heart is open, if your spirit is alert, you'll know it's Him. You see, when God sends a supernatural sign, it's never random. It always carries a purpose, a message, a revelation, and most importantly, a call. Because every sign from heaven is a call to rise higher, to step out in faith, to leave behind the comfort zone and step into the unknown, where miracles happen. But not everyone sees the sign. Not everyone hears the voice. Not everyone recognizes the moment when God moves. That's why this message is so important. Because you are being prepared to see it, to receive it, to respond to it. This is your burning bush moment. Like Moses, who was tending sheep in the wilderness, thinking his best days were behind him, until God lit a bush on fire and called him by name. Chosen one, there is a moment like that coming to you, and it won't just be a sign for the sake of amazement. It will be a sign with your name on it, a confirmation that you are being summoned into a higher purpose, a deeper walk, a divine assignment. So if you've been waiting, if you've been wondering, if you've been seeking, don't turn away now, because in the next few minutes, we're going to unlock what this supernatural sign means. We're going to look at the patterns of how God speaks, why He uses signs, and most importantly, how you can be ready to receive what's coming. Are you ready? Because the heavens are moving, and God is about to speak something life-changing into your world. Chosen one, before anything else, you must understand this truth. God is not a distant deity who leaves you to figure life out on your own. He is a living, speaking, personal Father, and when He wants to get your attention, He doesn't whisper into the void. He sends signs. He orchestrates moments. He places messages in front of you that speak so deeply to your heart that you cannot deny they came from him. Now, listen carefully. A supernatural sign is not just a miracle or a coincidence. It is heaven invading your timeline. It is God stepping into your story to shift the direction of your life. And when he does, the sign is never meant to entertain. It's meant to awaken. The supernatural sign that's coming your way is not random. It is a divine response, a confirmation, a holy signal that God has heard your cry and seen your faithfulness in the quiet. It's his way of saying, I've not forgotten the promises I made to you. Think back to the story of Gideon. He was hiding, threshing wheat in fear, believing he was the least of his people, until an angel of the Lord appeared and called him mighty warrior. Gideon didn't feel mighty. He didn't feel chosen, but he asked for a sign, not out of arrogance, but out of desperation for clarity. And God, in his mercy, gave it. Why? Because God knew Gideon's heart wasn't testing him, it was reaching for him. Chosen one, you may be in a similar place right now. You don't need signs because you lack faith. You need a sign because you're trying to hold on to it. You've been faithful in the unseen. You've prayed prayers no one knows about. You've stayed standing when everything around you tried to make you fall. And now God is saying, prepare your heart. I'm about to confirm your calling. But here's what I need you to catch. When God sends a sign, he's not just trying to show you something. He's inviting you into something, a new level of trust, a new realm of spiritual authority, a new assignment that requires your yes, even before you fully understand the how. Let's be real. We often want the sign to come with all the answers. We want the burning bush to also come with a detailed plan. But God's signs rarely work that way. Because his signs are not substitutes for faith. They are invitations to deepen it. You see, the supernatural sign coming into your life is not just about direction. It's about alignment. It's about shifting your eyes from what's around you to who is above you. It's about stepping out of fear and into trust. It's about trading your timeline for God's timing. So here's the revelation. The sign you're about to receive is not meant to make you feel safe. It's meant to make you bold. You might be asking, why now, God? Why send this sign now? Because there is a window of destiny opening in your life. There is something shifting in the unseen realm. What you've been praying for is beginning to take form, and heaven is giving you a signal. Get ready. Move forward. I'm with you. But not everyone will understand this sign. Not everyone around you will see what you see or feel what you feel. That's because the sign is not for the crowd. It's for the called. It's for you. It's confirmation that you are on the verge of stepping into what you were created for. God doesn't waste signs. He doesn't send messages into empty space. He sends them to people who are postured to receive. People whose hearts are leaning in, even when their eyes are full of tears. You've been leaning in. You've been hungry. You've been desperate for more than religion, for encounter. And that's why this sign is coming. Not to impress you, but to commission you. So what does that mean for you right now? It means that your spiritual posture matters more than ever. It means that your obedience, even in the small things, is preparing you to walk into the big things. It means that your sensitivity to the Spirit will determine your readiness to receive. Because here's the truth. God will always confirm what He has already whispered to your spirit. He's not introducing a new plan. He's revealing the next step in the one He's already planted inside of you. Chosen one, this sign is not the end. It's the beginning. It's the green light you've been waiting for. It's the heavenly nod to move, to act, to believe boldly again. And when it comes, whether through a dream, a divine connection, a prophetic word, or a moment of overwhelming peace, you'll know. You'll know it's Him. But how do you walk in this divine power? How do you unlock what God has already placed within you? How do you steward the sign and not miss the door it opens? That's what we're about to uncover. Chosen one. If you are going to recognize the supernatural sign that's coming, you must first understand something deeper. God doesn't send signs randomly. He sends them with purpose. And often, that purpose is to call you out of hiding and into your divine assignment. You see, before the sign comes, God calls. And before you can fully receive what the sign is pointing you toward, you must begin to grasp the nature of His call on your life. Let me take you back to the wilderness, where a man named Moses was tending sheep. He wasn't looking for a burning bush. He wasn't trying to find God. He was simply surviving, going through the motions, carrying the weight of past failures. A prince turned fugitive. A man who once thought he could change the world, now content to remain in obscurity. And then, it happened. God set a bush on fire, but the fire didn't consume it. And from the flames, God called out, "Moses, Moses." That was the moment everything shifted. But what strikes me the most isn't just the miracle of the burning bush. It's that God knew exactly where Moses was. In a forgotten corner of the wilderness, far from the noise of Egypt, far from the crowds. God knew where to find His servant. Chosen one, hear me clearly. God knows where to find you. You may feel hidden right now, overlooked, pushed to the margins, like life has passed you by. Maybe you once had big dreams, holy dreams, but time and disappointment wore them down. And now, like Moses, you're just trying to make it through the day. But God sees you, and when the time is right, He doesn't just whisper. He shows up in fire. And here's the truth. The fire is not to harm you. It's to awaken you. When God calls you, it's often in the ordinary moments. Moses wasn't on a mountaintop in prayer. He was doing his daily job. But when heaven is ready to shift your assignment, it doesn't need a perfect setting. All it needs is a heart that will turn aside and listen. Scripture says that Moses said to himself, "I will turn aside and see this great sight." And when God saw that Moses turned aside, then He called to him from the bush. What does that mean? It means that the call of God is often waiting on your attention. The sign can be burning right in front of you, but if your eyes are fixed on fear, busyness, or your past, you might walk right by it. But when you turn aside, when you pause, lean in, and say, "God, is that you?" you position yourself to hear heaven speak. Now, let's get honest. God's call rarely makes sense in the natural. When Moses hears God's voice, he doesn't leap with confidence. He trembles with doubt. He says, "Who am I that I should go?" He lists his flaws. He recalls his past mistakes. He essentially tells God, "You've got the wrong person." Sound familiar? How many times have you felt the stir of something bigger inside you, only to silence it with your own limitations? How many times have you said, "God, I'm not ready. I'm not holy enough. I'm not strong enough. I'm not enough"? But here's what God says in response to Moses, and to you. "I will be with you." That's it. That's the answer. Not a 5-step plan. Not a map. Just a promise. God's call is not about your capability. It's about His presence. He doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called. And the sign He's about to send into your life isn't a reward for perfection. It's a summons into purpose. But it gets deeper. When Moses asks God, "What should I say your name is?" God replies, "I am." That one phrase changes everything. God isn't just present. He's everything you'll need on the journey. When you're afraid, He says, "I am your courage." When you lack wisdom, He says, I am your guide. When you feel weak, he says, I am your strength. So let me ask you this. What's been holding you back from embracing the call? Is it fear of failure? Fear of rejection? A sense of inadequacy? Do you feel like you've missed your moment? Chosen one, you haven't missed it. In fact, you're closer than you've ever been. The supernatural sign God is sending your way is not just a signal. It's a reignition of your purpose. It's heaven's way of saying, the calling still stands. Even if years have passed. Even if you walked away. Even if you've been doubting in silence. Moses was 80 years old when God called him to lead a nation. Time doesn't cancel calling. Delay doesn't delete destiny. And silence doesn't equal absence. God has been preparing you in the wilderness, not punishing you, preparing you. And now, just like Moses, you're about to have a burning bush moment, a divine interruption, a holy invitation. But will you turn aside? Will you quiet the noise, step off the beaten path, and listen? Because the call is not coming to the crowd. It's coming to you. And if you listen, really listen, you'll hear the same words spoken to Moses echo in your spirit. Take off your shoes, for the place you are standing is holy ground. That moment is coming. And it's not because you earned it. It's because you're chosen for it. But this is just the beginning. Because once the call comes, the testing often follows. So the next question is, how do you respond when God calls, but life doesn't change immediately? How do you stay faithful when the promise feels far away? That's what we're going to explore next. Chosen one. Here's a truth we often try to avoid, but it's one we must embrace if we want to walk in supernatural power. Before every blessing, there is a test. Before every breakthrough, there is a season of pressure. Before God opens the door, He refines the one who will walk through it. And that testing, it's not punishment, it's preparation. It's one thing to receive a calling. It's another to be ready to carry it. Let's talk about Joseph. Joseph had dreams. Literal, God-given dreams. At a young age, God showed him that he would be elevated, that others would bow before him, that he was set apart for a special assignment. And like many of us, Joseph believed it. He shared his vision. He was filled with hope and purpose. But what came next? Betrayal, rejection, isolation. His own brothers threw him into a pit and sold him into slavery. The very people who should have protected him became the instruments of his pain. And instead of stepping into a palace, Joseph found himself shackled in chains. Does that sound familiar? Have you ever felt like the people closest to you couldn't see your calling? Have you ever been misunderstood, underestimated, or mistreated? Not by enemies, but by those who should have known your heart? And yet, God was still with Joseph. In Potiphar's house, as a slave, God gave Joseph favor. He rose to a position of trust. Things started looking up. But then, another test. Another betrayal. Joseph was falsely accused and thrown into prison for something he didn't do. Once again, injustice knocked on his door. Once again, the promise seemed further away. And it would have been easy, so easy, for Joseph to say, God has forgotten me. But he didn't. Even in prison, he remained faithful. He interpreted dreams. He served others. He held on to the very thing the enemy tried to silence. His gift. That's what the test is really about. It's not just about patience. It's about preservation. Will you still believe what God said when everything around you contradicts it? Will you still walk in your gift when there's no platform, no audience, no reward? Will you stay faithful in the prison when the palace feels like a forgotten dream? Joseph did. And in time, God's perfect time, he was remembered. The very gift that worked in the darkness became the key to his elevation. Pharaoh called for him. One day, Joseph was in the pit of despair. The next, he was second in command of Egypt. But don't miss this. The process took years. Not weeks. Not months. Years. Because destiny is not microwaved. It's forged. It's tested. And it's refined through fire. Chosen one, I know you've been asking, why is it taking so long? You've been looking around and thinking, everyone else is getting their breakthrough. What about me? But what you don't see is that God isn't just setting the stage. He's shaping you. He's testing your character, your integrity, your willingness to trust Him when there are no signs. Because if you can hold on in the prison, you'll be ready for the palace. You're not being delayed. You're being developed. You're not being punished. You're being positioned. And the supernatural sign that's coming? It's not the beginning of your story. It's the confirmation that you passed the test, that you endured the process, that you didn't give up in the dark. It's heaven saying, now you're ready. But there's something else we need to address here. Because the test doesn't just reveal your faith, it often exposes your fears. Joseph could have let bitterness take over. He could have allowed resentment toward his brothers to rot his heart. He could have quit using his gift and chosen silence over service. But he didn't. He kept his spirit clean. He guarded his heart. He trusted the author of his story even when he didn't understand the chapters. And that's your call too. Will you trust God when the story doesn't make sense? Will you keep worshiping when the blessing hasn't come? Will you remain faithful when no one's watching, when it feels like nothing is changing? Because that is what qualifies you for the next level. That is what proves the sign isn't just a spectacle. It's ascending. God is preparing to elevate you, not for your glory, but for His purpose. Joseph wasn't raised to power just to be comfortable. He was placed in position to save lives, to bring restoration, to fulfill a divine assignment that had been in motion long before he understood it. And the same is true for you. The sign that's coming into your life is about more than your personal blessing. It's about positioning you for influence, for impact, for kingdom purpose. But before you can step into that, the testing season must do its work. So don't despise the waiting. Don't curse the process. Don't run from the pruning. God is with you in the pit. He's with you in the prison. And He's preparing a place for you in the palace. But the next part is crucial, because even after the sign arrives, many people stay bound. They receive the message, but don't know how to break free from the chains that have held them back. So now, we need to talk about those invisible chains, the doubts, the fears, the spiritual strongholds. Because your next breakthrough won't come by accident, it will come by choice. Let's talk about what it means to truly break free. Chosen one, you've received the calling. You've endured the testing, and the sign from heaven is near. But here's a hard truth we don't often talk about. Some people receive a word from God, they even see the sign, but they never step into the fullness of their calling. Why? Because they're still bound, not by chains of iron, but by chains of fear, doubt, guilt, shame, insecurity. These invisible shackles are just as powerful as any prison cell, and until they are broken, you can hear God's voice and still feel unworthy to follow it. Let me ask you, have you ever felt paralyzed right after a breakthrough? like you should be celebrating, but instead, something deep inside still whispers, "You're not ready. You're not good enough. You're going to fail." That's not the voice of your Father. That's the residue of old bondage. The enemy knows he can't stop God from calling you, so he tries to convince you that you're disqualified, that your past is too ugly, that your faith is too weak, that you missed your window. He doesn't need chains to keep you stuck, just lies you believe. But let me speak truth over you today. The same God who calls you also cleanses you. The same God who sends the sign also sends the strength. And if He's chosen you, then nothing in your past has the power to cancel your future. I want to tell you a story. There was a woman who came to church every Sunday. Kind, quiet, faithful. But year after year, she remained stuck in fear. She had a calling to teach, a prophetic gift in her voice, but she never used it. When asked to speak, she'd shake her head and say, "No, not me." Why? Because in her early 20s, she'd had a season where she strayed from God. She made mistakes, some public, some private, and though she'd repented, though she was forgiven, she never forgave herself. So even when God opened doors, she stayed on the other side, bound by shame, paralyzed by a past God had already buried. And you know what? That's where many people are right now. Maybe even you. Still carrying chains Jesus already broke. But the supernatural sign God is sending you? It's not just to confirm your calling, it's to demolish your chains. Because freedom is not just a feeling, it's a spiritual reality. And it doesn't begin with change on the outside, it begins with truth on the inside. Jesus said in John 8 verse 32, "You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free." But what truth? The truth that you are not who your past says you are. The truth that your worth is not based on your mistakes. The truth that when God forgives, He forgets. He separates your sins as far as the east is from the west. He doesn't keep a scoreboard. He covers you in righteousness. So if God has let it go, why are you still holding on? If God has removed your shame, why are you still wearing it like a cloak? Chosen one, it's time to break free. And let me tell you this. Freedom isn't always a sudden feeling. Sometimes it's a choice, a declaration, a holy rebellion against the voice of the enemy. It's standing up and saying, "I will no longer be ruled by what tried to break me. I will no longer shrink in fear when God has told me to rise. I will no longer live like I'm still in prison when the door is wide open." Because here's the secret. Your chains don't have the key, you do. Your yes to God is more powerful than every no you've said in the past. Your decision to walk in obedience is the beginning of your deliverance. Remember the man in Mark chapter 5? Possessed, tormented, living in the tombs, literally chained by demons. People avoided him. He avoided himself. But when Jesus stepped on the shore, that man ran to him. Even in his brokenness, even in his torment, even with all his issues, he ran, and Jesus didn't turn him away. He didn't say, "You're too messed up." No, he cast out the demons. He broke the chains. He restored his mind. And the very man who was once feared became a voice of testimony in his city. Chosen one, that's what Jesus does. That's what the sign is pointing you toward. Not just a new season, but a new freedom. Not just confirmation, but transformation. You are not what happened to you. You are not your failure. You are not the lies that were spoken over you. You are a child of the Most High God. And when He speaks, all of hell has to back up. But this freedom, it comes with a choice. You must choose to reject the lies. You must choose to forgive yourself. You must choose to stop rehearsing the pain and start declaring the promise. Because the sign coming your way is only the beginning. If you're still bound on the inside, you won't walk fully into what God has prepared. But if you say yes, if you rise up, if you shake off the chains and dare to believe that what Jesus did on the cross is enough, you'll walk in a freedom you've never known before. And that freedom will lead to action. That freedom will empower you to step out of the boat, to do what others say is impossible, to walk not just with God, but on the water, into the realm where miracles are made. Are you ready to step out? Because what comes next is divine movement. Now that you've been called, tested, and set free, now it's time to walk in power. Let's talk about what it really means to step into the supernatural life. Chosen one, now that you've received the call, endured the test, and broken free from the chains that once held you back, there's only one direction left: forward. But not just any forward. A divine forward. A supernatural step into power. This is the moment where obedience meets opportunity, where your preparation aligns with God's timing, where your faith becomes movement, and your belief becomes boldness. But here's what you need to understand. Stepping into divine power doesn't mean the absence of fear. It means moving through fear because you trust the one who called you. Let's look at Peter, one of the most passionate, impulsive disciples. The one who said, "Even if all fall away, I won't." And yet, the same man who made great declarations also made deep mistakes. But before all that, before the denial, before the restoration, there was a moment that changed everything. A storm, a boat, and a figure walking on water. In Matthew 14, the disciples are in the middle of a terrifying storm. The waves are crashing, the wind is howling, and suddenly they see Jesus walking toward them, on the water. At first, they think it's a ghost. But Jesus speaks, "Take courage. It is I. Don't be afraid." And then Peter does something no one else dares to do. He says, "Lord, if it's you, tell me to come to you on the water." And Jesus says one word, "Come." That's it. No explanation. No guarantee. Just a simple command. And Peter steps out of the boat. Do you know how wild that is? He's stepping out onto something that should kill him. Something that should sink him. Something no human has ever walked on before. And yet, because it's Jesus who called him, Peter walks on water. Chosen one, hear me. When Jesus says, "Come," even the impossible becomes stable beneath your feet. That's what it means to walk in divine power. It's not arrogance. It's not self-confidence. It's radical obedience to the voice of God, even when everything else says, "That's not possible." It's trusting that if He called you to it, He will sustain you through it. Now here's where it gets real. Peter walked, but then he looked at the wind. He noticed the storm. He shifted his focus. And when his eyes came off Jesus, he began to sink. And yet, what did Jesus do? He didn't let Peter drown. He reached out, caught him, and said, "Why did you doubt?" Even when Peter wavered, Jesus didn't abandon him. And He won't abandon you either. Chosen one, stepping into divine power doesn't mean you'll never stumble. It means you trust that even in your stumbles, He will sustain you. He will lift you. He will catch you. But you must be willing to step out of the boat. The boat is safe. It's familiar. It's logical. The boat is your comfort zone. Your excuses. Your reputation. The voices that say, "You're not ready." But the boat isn't where the miracle happens. The water is. And God is calling you to the water. He's calling you into new territory, a new level of faith, a new season where signs and wonders aren't just things you read about, they're things you live in. But stepping into that power requires a new mindset. You can't bring old fear into a new season. You can't bring old doubt into divine movement. You can't carry the voice of the enemy with you into a place where God is trying to show you your authority. So here's the truth. Divine power begins with divine identity. You must see yourself the way God sees you. Not broken, but restored. Not forgotten, but chosen. Not weak, but powerful in Him. Ephesians 1 verses 19 to 20 says, "The same power that raised Christ from the dead lives in you." Do you hear that? The same power. Resurrection power. Not a lesser version. Not a diluted version. The same. That means you were never meant to live a weak, timid, spiritually dry life. You were meant to walk in boldness, in clarity, in supernatural authority. But you must take the step. God can give the sign. He can send the word. He can call you out. But you have to move. Like Peter, you must put one foot over the edge. Not because the water looks safe, but because the voice calling you is trustworthy. And when you do, when you truly step into divine power, you begin to see things shift. Fear no longer dominates your thoughts. Doors begin to open. Peace becomes your companion. And favor starts to follow you. Not because you're lucky, but because you're aligned. Because supernatural signs are always followed by supernatural movement. So now, chosen one, you stand at the edge. You've been called. You've been tested. You've been set free. And now God is saying, come. Come into the place where fear ends and purpose begins. Come into the waters where faith makes you float. Come into the life where signs aren't just signs, but starting points for transformation. But there's one last thing we must address. Because this moment, this now, requires a decision. You can't hear all of this and walk away unchanged. So now, the question is, will you answer? Will you move? Will you say yes? Because your moment has come, and the time is now. Chosen one, this is your moment. Not tomorrow, not next year. Now, you've heard the call. You've endured the test. You've wrestled with your chains and felt the tremble of freedom beginning to shake loose. You've caught a glimpse of the power God has placed inside you. But now comes the moment that separates the inspired from the ignited. You must decide. Because a supernatural sign is not just a gift. It's a summons, a divine activation, a heavenly invitation into something far bigger than yourself. And yet, you still have a choice. You can stay in the boat. You can keep analyzing the waves. You can go back to playing it safe, back to what's familiar, predictable, controlled. Or you can step out, right now, in faith, in obedience, in full surrender. Let me ask you, what would your life look like if you fully believed what God has spoken over you? What would shift if you truly believed that you were chosen, that you were called, anointed, and sent? What if you stopped waiting for the perfect timing, the perfect feeling, the perfect conditions, and instead you trusted that if God says, go, that's all the confirmation you need? Chosen one, this is more than a message. This is your defining moment. A line in the sand, no turning back kind of moment. And it's not just about you. It's about every soul your obedience will impact. Every life that will be touched when you rise up and say, yes, Lord, I'm ready. Because obedience is never just personal. It's generational. You stepping into your calling could mean healing for your family, freedom for your children, purpose for your community. Your yes echoes far beyond what you can see. Don't let fear whisper you into silence. Don't let regret convince you you've missed it. Don't let comfort rob you of the fire God placed in you. Right now, the Spirit of God is stirring in your heart. You feel it. That holy shaking, that divine unrest, that sacred pull toward something more. This is heaven's invitation. The sign is on its way. Or maybe, just maybe, it already came, and this message is the sign. The one you prayed for. The one you didn't think would come. The one your spirit has been aching to receive. What will you do with it? Will you brush it off as coincidence? Or will you treat it as the divine appointment it truly is? This is not the time to delay. This is not the time to consult your fears. This is the time to respond. Say yes. Right now. Say yes to what scares you, because God will meet you there. Say yes to stepping out of the boat, even if your knees shake. Say yes to healing, even if it means facing your wounds. Say yes to the call, even if the path ahead is unclear. Because the longer you wait, the easier it becomes to drift back into the ordinary, to silence the voice of God beneath the noise of life, to ignore the fire and settle for comfort. But chosen one, you weren't made for comfort. You were made for impact. You were created to carry the presence of God into dark places. You were designed to walk in favor, to operate in boldness, to be a vessel of the miraculous. And all of that starts with a decision. Not a perfect plan. Not flawless readiness. Just a decision. To believe. To trust. To move. To say, God, I may not have it all figured out, but I know you're calling, and I'm answering. So wherever you are right now, lift your heart, open your hands, and say it out loud. Yes, Lord, I'm ready. Speak it until your fear starts to shrink. Declare it until your faith begins to rise. Say it until your heart aligns with heaven. Because when you move in obedience, all of heaven moves with you. Angels are released. Chains break. Doors open. The atmosphere shifts. And the supernatural becomes your new normal. You were never meant to live stuck. You were never meant to stay hidden. You were made to shine. You were made to go. You were made to rise. This is your moment. Your turning point, your divine interruption. Will you walk away unchanged? Or will you step boldly into the future God has prepared for you? The sign is coming. Or maybe, it's already here. Now, what will you do? Chosen one, take a breath. Not a breath of relief that this moment is ending, but a breath of awakening. Because something inside you just shifted. Something deep, eternal, holy. You are not the same person you were when you began listening to this message. Something in your spirit has been unlocked. The veil has been lifted. The fire has been reignited. Now you know the truth. You were never abandoned, never disqualified, never forgotten. You were being prepared. You were being refined in the fire, not to destroy you, but to forge you into someone unshakable. The supernatural sign that's coming, or has already come, is not the end of the story. It's the doorway. It's God saying, let's go. Let's build. Let's walk together into everything I've spoken over your life. Don't underestimate what happens when a child of God wakes up to who they really are. Because when you do, the enemy trembles. The heavens rejoice. And the world changes. So here's what I want you to carry with you as you step into your next chapter. God is not finished with you. In fact, He's just getting started. Everything you've walked through, the pain, the delay, the wrestling, it wasn't wasted. It was woven into a story of redemption, woven into a testimony of grace, woven into a foundation that can now hold the weight of glory. Your steps are ordered. Your path is anointed. Your voice is needed. You are chosen to speak when others stay silent. You are chosen to walk in faith when others collapse in fear. You are chosen to shine light in places that have been dark for too long. And no matter what lies ahead, mountains, valleys, storms, victories, God will go before you. His Spirit will go with you. His goodness and mercy will follow behind, because the one who called you is faithful, and when he starts something, he finishes it. So go forward not in fear, but in confidence, not in striving, but in surrender, not in your own strength, but in divine empowerment. Hold your head high, walk like the royalty you are, speak like the messenger you've become, love like someone who has been radically loved, and live every day like the miracle you are walking in has already begun, because it has. You've been called, you've been tested, you've been set free, you've been invited into power, and now you are being released. So keep watching, keep listening, keep trusting. The sign may come in the quiet or the thunder. It may appear in a dream or a door opening wide. But it will come, and when it does, you'll know. Because your spirit has already been prepared. You've already said yes, and heaven is already moving. The best is not behind you. It's ahead, and it's more than you ever imagined. So rise, chosen one. It's time. Chosen one, if this message stirred something in your spirit, if you felt like God was speaking directly to you, I want you to know, you're not alone. There are others just like you, walking through the fire, holding on through the silence, waiting for the sign, and stepping into their divine calling. If any part of this word resonated with your heart, I'd love to hear your story. What has God been saying to you? What sign have you been praying for? Drop it in the comments. Your testimony might be the exact confirmation someone else is waiting for. You never know how your journey can become someone else's breakthrough. And if you're still waiting, still searching, just know this: I'm standing with you in faith, believing that the supernatural is not just possible, it's personal, that the God who called you is faithful to reveal what you need, when you need it. Keep showing up, keep believing, and don't forget, you are not forgotten. Your season is shifting, your spirit is awakening, and heaven is moving on your behalf. This narration was generated by AI, but the message itself carries timeless truth and power.